You're listening to the Intuitive Souls podcast. I am your host, Erica Russo, and this podcast is designed to educate, inspire, and enlighten. Let's wake up together. Hey guys, and welcome to the show. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. I am glad the universe led you here. I am Erica Russo from SibylAndSarah.com, and today I have a very special guest coming on. She is a mindset and business coach. Her name is Amanda Rose, and she's also an author, which was pretty cool to find out. And she was just super great energy. We just talked about all things mindset, and she told us a little bit about her story and how she came to make six figures within I think she said 6 months, which is crazy. So be sure to listen to her story. She also drops a lot of great book recommendations. I can vouch for them because I was writing them down when she was giving them, and I went ahead and purchase them through Audible or Amazon myself, and I can tell you that there are really great value within those books as well. So be sure to listen to the very end. Now, I also just want to say thank you so much for everyone who is taking the time out of your lives to submit reviews on iTunes. It really does. I'm so super appreciative of them. And if you could just go ahead and, submit a request. I'm all tongue-tied today. If you can if you have a minute, please be sure to head on over to iTunes and submit a review. It helps me get that podcast out there to the ears that need to listen. Again, I really appreciate all of the love that you guys are giving on iTunes. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and I will see you next week. Okay, guys, so today I have an amazing mindset coach with me, and I'm going to let her just kind of introduce herself to us, let us know what she does, what her business is all about. So please go ahead and take the reins.
Hey, thank you so much. Hello, everybody. I'm Amanda Rose, up here in very cloudy Kingston, Ontario today.
Oh, yes. Very cloudy in Connecticut as well.
Just a whole little North America. We're just
I know. It's been weeks.
I know. Sun, please come. We're ready for you.
Yes, right?
Right? Oh, gosh. So I work as a business and mindset coach for entrepreneurs, especially in the online world. And I'm also a multi-published author. I work with people to get through the book publication process, marketing, how's all that kind of stuff work. I also do public speaking events to talk specifically about mindset and the importance of it, really in no matter what field you're in. So kind of a multi-passionate entrepreneur, and I just really love helping people reach their goals. And that all stems back to the mindset practices, which is why I'm so excited to talk about it today.
Yeah. I mean, I was just telling you before we even started recording that I've really been diving into reprogramming my mindset. And, you think that it's not important, that your dream is enough, right? Your dream is enough, but we're not thinking about the ego and all of that. So I really I have seen such a transformation within myself with it. So I'm just such an avid fan of it. So how was it that you just kind of stumbled upon the world of mindset, and how has it changed you?
Oh, not a quick story, but I will shorten it as much as I can. It's such an interesting topic. I was very fortunate in many ways. I grew up in a household which was very new age. My parents were both very much interested in that. Kind of elements, coming out of the 70s and 80s, that was something that was interesting for them. So meditation, that kind of, crystals everywhere. I grew up with that. Tarot, astrology.
Oh, you're so lucky.
It was, and I'm going to tell you guys why that's not necessarily the end all to be all too, but it was something I was aware of. It was very much in front of me. It wasn't just like this, people going woo woo over there, those crazy hippies or something like that. Because of course, it's quite the opinion out there at the time. So I was, definitely grew up with it. And that was a very interesting way to grow up. And then into teens, early adulthood, the weight of responsibility kind of comes crashing down. And, all that spiritual stuff wasn't as important as everything else at the time. Because I was learning all of these new ways of just existing and being. And also as a teenager, I really struggled with depression and anorexia. And so my mind had nothing to do with positivity, nothing to do with good mindset. I on a daily basis, I can't tell you how many times I hated myself. I mean, I nearly killed myself, starving myself to death. So I didn't love myself, and that's a big part of mindset. So there was a lot of rebuilding and inner work to go on there. So getting into my early 20s, started taking some jobs. I wanted to be an actor. And of course, I graduated right into the recession in 2008, one of the only times that the Canadian dollar was so much stronger than the US dollar. And for anybody who doesn't know this, US companies come to film in Canada most of the time. We don't have a huge film production up here ourselves. So nobody was coming to film up here. And that was my big dream. So I just ended up working retail jobs. I did door-to-door sales. I can tell you that sucks in a different kind of way.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, just a very good learning experience. But there was so much learning. And I can tell you the one thing that I very much was broke. I didn't even make enough to cover my bills. I made, if it was a good month, I made $800. And I can tell you that doesn't pay rent and groceries. So every month it was further spiraling into debt just to survive. And it was I got very bitter about that. And in, I think it was 2012, I started a job where I was doing live presentations, and for the first few weeks, they don't pay you commission, or they do it like a weekly payment, and after that, it's straight commissions, which I'd never done before, which was very intimidating for me. And I remember my very first day where I was straight commissions having a mild panic attack and calling one of my trainers, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Unfortunately I got his voicemail, so I just had to like rant into his voicemail, and then I had to go and do a show, and I think it went so. And I found his voicemail waiting for me afterwards, and I really wish I'd had a way to record this, because it was one of the most empowering speeches I'd ever had, where he said, Amanda, today is a great day. Today, the ceiling on your income is lifted. And I know he went on and on after that for a while, but it was very motivating, and it lifted me up. And then I went on to do very well with sales in that way. But then life happens, management changed, and it was miserable to work there. And I can tell you, when you're unhappy, you cannot sell anything. So I went back to being broke, and I was like, I need to quit this job because I'm miserable. And then I was back to square one. I only had a few months of savings saved up, but I couldn't face going for another regular job again. It just wasn't even a possibility. And so I ended up signing up for network marketing, which I didn't realize it was network marketing at the time. That was out of my realm of existence. So I just was like, I'll just do this because I love this company, and whatever, I'll pay it forward with good health and fitness for people. So I did that for a while. And I was reasonably good at it, and I had big dreams, and I'd seen people, it's like, people can become millionaires this way. Like, you can do that. And that was my goal with it. And I did better than most because I was dedicated and I was doing the work. I was doing the inner work. So I hit a plateau. And what happened was my husband lost his job a few years later. And I wasn't making enough to cover the mortgage and the car payments and everything all by myself. So I kind of hit this point where I was like, okay, do this personal development stuff everybody's talking about, and that I do have some familiarity with, or, learn to file for bankruptcy. That was kind of like, I was like, these are my options right now. And so I dove wholeheartedly into mindset, specifically around money, found out a lot of my money blocks, which we can definitely dive into. And then I worked through a lot of that stuff, understood where the root of all of this was happening. And it was outrageous how fast things changed. Within 6 months, we manifested 6 figures. It was just outrageously fast, and our lives completely changed. And from that point forward, I knew it was something that I needed to pay forward, because it was such a life changing experience. And since then, dream after dream has come true. Being an author was a huge dream for me all my life, and that finally came true. And then paying that forward, and then becoming a coach to help people with business and mindset. I mean, just it's crazy. So it works. It works.
Yeah, yeah. That's I as far as it's concerned, it's, you know what I mean. Like we all have dreams. Mm-hmm. We all have a vision. We all want to manifest something in our lives. And for me, I always had this vision of helping people, help them learn to trust their intuition, strengthen it, use it, bring it into your everyday life, and really allow yourself to be the best version of yourself through your intuition. But with my own personal development, the fear, the stories I was telling myself, you really do need to do mindset work. Period. It's not even like, we all have dreams, we all have visions. And the funny thing is I have realized, and I've seen it, you see it, you pop on Facebook and you do all these coaching programs and stuff like that. And you see these people that are entrepreneurs, they're starting and they're not getting any sales, they're not getting any leads, they're not making traction, but they're doing the work. You know what I mean? They're going on lives. They're doing this. They're doing that. They're marketing like crazy, but they're doing the work, but they're so frustrated and they're wanting to give up. And it's like, are you doing your mindset practice? Are you journaling? Are you waking up? Or are you, finding out your blocks? Are you doing all of this? And they're clueless.
Yeah. And that was me for a really long time. So I can relate to that. And it is very frustrating, especially when you are in that stage and you're looking at it and you're of course comparing, right? Because we do that. And we're going, okay, like that person who's doing exactly what I'm doing is doing 10K months or more, or whatever it is. And it's like, and I can't sign one freaking client. What is going on? And it is very frustrating, because the doing is important, but the doing doesn't accomplish anything if we don't know how to be first. Both you need the inside, the self-love, the working through our stuff, and especially the subconscious mind. I feel that's the most overlooked aspect. But I'm in a lot of manifesting groups. I am. And it's, of course, you get so many people in there who are so frustrated and so hopeless, and then they start saying, I can't manifest anything. And I just want to reach through the computer and be like, you can. You are manifesting right now. You're just not manifesting what you want, because you don't know how it really works. And that was a big thing for me when I wanted to start talking to people about law of attraction. Was the subconscious work is the first thing, because you can do gratitude and journaling and affirmations and meditate, and it won't do jack squat. It'll feel good, but it won't do anything if you don't deal with your root story, which is all that stuff we pick up between like age 0 to age 8. We have no brain filter. We know this from psychology. So we just pick things up and develop these connected stories that we think is the truth or our beliefs, when they're just a bunch of jumbled thoughts that our brain tried to make sense of. And then the other thing that most of us don't know, and this was something I learned a little more recently, was from age 9 to 25, our brain is still developing that cognitive function. So that means your first love experiences, your first work experiences, let's face it, most of these aren't great. They're what we base, this is how this is. That's what we, and then, if you had to work really hard at your first job and you had a crappy boss, then making money is hard. And that's the belief that gets stuck in the subconscious mind. And until we go and dig into that and, go, okay, that was my first experience, but that isn't necessarily true. And I want to rewrite that story so it's supportive of who I want to be and what I want to do. Until we do that work, that's
Right.
That's going to be the story we keep living into.
Right. And I actually just attended a Abraham Hicks workshop, and they're very much into the law of attraction, but what we have to understand is that there's 11 other universal laws that we have to be aware of and cognizant of, because it's not just the law of attraction, because people get so frustrated where they're like, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. Why isn't it happening? Why isn't it happening? Well, okay, slow your roll. What's your vibration? You know what I mean? So you really have to educate yourself on everything. It is all attainable. Everything's attainable, but you have to do the work. It doesn't come just because you want it to. There's so much subconscious bullshit. Like you said, there's so much work in our own minds that need to be fixed in order for us to be at a positive state where we can even attract it, So I love that you brought that up, that even between the ages up until 25 years old.
Yeah. And I'd heard about the cognitive building into teenager years before. And then I forget where it was that I found out it was not until 25 that it's really solidified. And I was like, oh my God, like no wonder many of us are just struggling still, because all of that stuff is rooted in there. And especially the childhood stuff, I find, because when we're born, we need to be taken care of. We need to be loved, or we die if we're not taken care of. So knowing that no matter what, the most important thing for your subconscious mind is to know that you are loved and taken care of. If anything contradicts that, it will push it away. And this is so big on money for most of us, because we see parents fighting about money and all of the stuff. Like if you hear the news or peers or anything, money's the root of all evil, love is better than money, all of these sayings that we hear throughout the years, it just gets glued in there. And then if anything is going against that, like I can tell you, for me, my big epiphany moment when I was digging into my money blueprint was I was kind of looking through, I'm like, okay, where is like an event that I remember that was really around money? And my dad was an entrepreneur growing up, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom for quite a while. So money was tight with a startup business. And I remember my mom took me shopping, and, she bought me a ton of clothes, and my dad picked us up from the mall and saw all the shopping. And he was like, how much did you spend? And my mom told him, and he just started yelling because he was so upset. He's working so hard to pay the bills. And of course, as a kid, you just don't understand that much about money and how it works and why it's such a tension point. And I just remember being like, take it back. I don't want any of this. And I realized it was that moment where I made this connection that if I have money, I can't be loved. And I had to rework that story, and I had to change it to I can have money and love. And that came to a place of being an adult and going back with an adult mind and analyzing the situation for what it was, and realizing, dad was stressed, mom wanted to have some fun and treat her daughter, and, they just weren't on the same playing field. And just because that incident happened doesn't mean that's the truth about money. That was just the connection that was made in the brain. And coming to terms with it and seeing it from our adult perspective is huge.
Right. And I've really noticed, like, doing the mindset work and these memories that come up when you're really trying to find the pinpoint of where this belief came from, you become much more cognizant of what you say around your own children. I mean, that's at least for me. 'Cause that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, that's mall trip, how that completely just
changed your life. Yeah, it really is. And I think to some degree too, I mean, yes, being more aware of how we act and what we say. And I think mostly the emotional impact, because it's those moments where we have that emotional reaction where we make the connection and ties, but there's no real control over that. And we also see, two siblings, growing up in the same household, same parents, experiencing the same events. And one will go off to be, a multimillionaire, and the other one's got a drug problem, and they're homeless. So it's not necessarily the events. And I think sometimes, especially parents, it's easy to be hard on yourself on what your kid's getting exposed to, but it's also their brain is going to make the connections in one way or the other. You know, kids tend to either model their parents or rebel against them, and you don't know what's going to happen in there. And I think it's taking the blame off as well, because it's so easy to get into the, you know, especially when we start looking into ourselves, we're like, man, I hate my parents because they, you know, they had terrible money habits. Well, it's not their fault that we made this connection. It's just, that's how our brain worked, and our brain works in weird ways to make connections. So it's just coming to terms with, you know what, the subconscious did what it did. It was trying to protect me, and it was trying to love me, and taking that step of, I think self-ownership is always really important for all of us to go, you know what, I own my stuff. If I make a mistake, I'll own up to it, instead of, we're so good at making excuses or blaming and all these things. And it's not an easy part of the process to start always accepting, like, yep, that was me. That was me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big thing, especially like, you know, the money mindset and everything like that. It's all tied in together. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I've realized doing this work and all the journaling and all the, you know, classes and stuff, is that our relationship with money, our relationship with self, our relationship with others, they all are tied in together some way, somehow. So it's really, really super important to do the work for everything, because your relationship with money is going to affect your relationship with self, and it will affect your relationship with your husband or your spouse or whatever it is. So yeah, it definitely all ties in together, like totally. Now, is there any kind of success stories, like some mini wins that you have with, you know, your clients, that you just you know, working with them as their mindset and them just seeing them like flourish?
Yeah. And you know, what's really interesting is how fast, that's what always surprises me, is how quick it is. And it usually as soon as getting off of the first phone call, because it's an energetic relationship. So it's that transference. And one of the most recent ones, I got off of my first client call with a new person I was working with. She's a new entrepreneur, and she hadn't sold anything for her program yet. And literally right after we got off the phone, she sold a 6-month program. I was like, oh my God. And it's not like she did anything different. It's not like she went out and we didn't even talk about marketing or sales or anything yet. It was just her vibe was so high from that phone call. And I think we always underestimate, like, oh, what am I going to learn when I hire a coach, or when I get into a program, or we start like picking it apart. Is it going to be worth that investment? We start judging it. And it's really the fact that it's this energy transference, and that it's that kind of level of being. And if you show up full out and your coach shows up full out, like, the magic happens. And I think that's also in my own life too, when I see, things happen, you know, like, for example, when I went from just struggling in the doing of my network marketing business and then worked on the mindset, instead of me feeling like I was dragging every client to sign up with me, suddenly out of the blue, people were messaging me like, oh, hey, I want to order like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's never happened before. Like, what? And that's the kind of thing that happens, is when your energy is high, people are naturally attracted to it. And that's really exciting aspect of it that we don't always count on as much, right? We always think, you know, the results are from the doing, and well, that's a big part of it. The energy we're putting out is going to be attracting or repelling. So,
right.
Yeah.
100%. I do believe, like, there are some people that their energy, just with their posts or their Instagram, it's like, I want to work with you. You know what I mean? Like, I will literally like go through Instagram posts, watch their stories or whatever. And it's like, it's not even what you're selling, but it's like, I need to be in your energy because I like it. It's so true. Like, your energy speaks louder than your words ever will. Like, truly.
It's like a magnetic pull. I know exactly what you mean. When it's like you suddenly stop scrolling because you don't know why. You just have to know more about what they're saying, even if they're not even necessarily something that you'd normally be looking at. Like, oh, you're neat. Wow, what's going on with you?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's so true. But then there's also others. And this is like what I always say is, if you're looking to hire a coach, and this is like, there's so many coaches out there. and they all have different, niches. They all do different things. There's manifestation coaches, intuition coaches. You need to really, and I always say, like, who's the person that you're like, oh my God, they're in my head. They're in my head. That's the one for you. Not the one that, claims that they're going to make you a multimillionaire or something along those lines. If your energy doesn't feel good looking at this person's picture, scrolling through their Instagram posts, scrolling through, what they have to say on Facebook, they're not for you, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my biggest thing. Cause that's, even as a coach, we're coaches. So we're all in the coaching. If your coach doesn't have a coach and your coach, everyone has a coach. So, it's super, that's how I choose my coaches. And I must say, like, I haven't had a bad experience, but it's always with the person, just, who you have to hire. Simple as that. You do.
Yeah. Very easily. I love that you brought that up too, because I think sometimes the flashbang of somebody where they're like,
right.
My course just sold out, like for, we just finished it for like 33,000 launch. And, that's impressive.
Right.
And I might still be interested in you, but I'm not necessarily interested because of that. I'm interested from the vibrational level, and I can't explain what that is. And I think sometimes too, we can tell whether the energy is right because diving into the comparing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can't help, like you feel really triggered by somebody and you're like, I don't know why, you seem like a really nice person. Clearly it's something I haven't worked through, but that doesn't make that a good person to work with, because every time you're going to not feel good enough to work with them. And we're all human beings. You really want to work with somebody who just lights you up and sets your heart on fire and makes you feel like you can take on the freaking world. Like that's who I would love to work with, because that's the, like the yay, the pep in the step.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, it's so true, because there's so many different approaches that coaches take, and there's coaches out there, and I'm not going to name names, and you probably know who it is because she's all over social media. But as soon as she started coming into my feed, arrogant, she was very, very arrogant. I think one of her posts said like, I effing love money. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. I feel like, certain people are going to vibe with that. And there's also certain coaches who I like respect the crap out of. And I think they're 10 years ago, it'd be like, that's who I want to be, but that's not who I am. And I think there's also coming to that through the mindset practice, which is really important, because quite often we want to be what we're not. And, grass is greener on the other side. Like you're born a blonde, you want to be a brunette, and vice versa. And all of you born curly hair, you want straight hair. Part of life. And I think it's coming to terms with loving who we are, which really puts us in that place of being able to move authentically. Because I know for me, I always wanted to be, the extrovert, and I'm not. I'm such an introvert. I'm such a hermit. I barely leave the house. Like, so it is, and then coming to terms with that. And I always wanted to be, you do those personality tests. I always wanted to be fire. I was always water. And I was like, and so I'm always attracted to and so impressed by those people who are like that person. And like, but I know they're not who I am, and their methods wouldn't work for who I am either. And the more self-discovery and work that I do there, I feel much better in my own energy. I'm much more able to see who is like suited to me and my style, because we all know like coaches will teach you stuff and it's take or leave it, because it's not necessarily all going to work for you, the individual. And I want to work with somebody who's close to my energy, so that I know like when they say something, I'm going to be like, yeah, I do want to do that. Like, and I think that's a big part of it too, because even strategies change in very big ways, and finding what we resonate with is really important, because it's not that either one's better than the other. It's just either one's going to feel better for you as the individual.
Yeah, that's huge. That really is huge. Is definitely, it's so funny how like my conversations go from like mindset to like, this is how you should hire your coach. But anyway, I'm like so like out I'm so out there, but it's all good. But yeah, that's true too, is like someone's strategy and how they market their business might not necessarily feel good for you. They might motivate the crap out of you. You might like what they have to say, but if they're big into Facebook Lives, you know what I mean? And they're awesome at it and they have a ton of views and all of that. And that's how they really sell their programs. But you're an introvert like myself, and you don't want to sell on lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can respect that person. You can watch them. You could be, a keen observer and you could support them, but you really want to have a really great energetic connection with your coach. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's like that to me. And that's why discovery calls, I do feel, are important. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. People are so different on the internet than they are on the phone.
Yeah.
And I think the discovery call is as much as for me as it is for them. Cause I'm not going to go on a tangent about this, but I recently kind of learned about the human design stuff, which mm-hmm. was fascinating. So for anybody watching who doesn't know about that, it's just about your energy type and the kind of energy you put out and how you interact with the world energetically. And I found out I was a projector, which made complete sense when I read about it, which basically means I kind of pick up and put back out the energy that's around me, which is why I was like, oh, that's why I'm an empath. I get it. Which is fantastic. But it also means if I have somebody around me who's really, really meek and shy, even though I'm not meek and shy, I tend to pick that up, and then I'm not really great at helping them because I'm picking up so much on their energy that it's dragging me down. So for me, I have to be very careful with who's in my space. I want people who have the energy, but they don't know where to direct it. Because I know how to direct energy. That's what I can do. I don't know how to create energy. I don't know how to tell you how to create energy because as a projector, I don't create my own energy. I'm the only type that doesn't, but I know how to direct it. So I think for me, that was really important to know, okay, I need to work with people who are really they've got it, but they're I don't know what to do with it. Show me what to do with it. And knowing that part of yourself, no matter what you want to study and into discovering yourself and how your energy works, is to be aware of how other people make you feel. And, it's never worth working with somebody, no matter how great they're going to pay you, if you feel bad every time you work with them. And sometimes that's people having their own ego issue, you need to talk to me like I'm a princess. Well, I'm sorry, you're a human being, and I'm going to talk to you like you're a human being. And that's with respect and with love, but I'm not going to go, Your Majesty, I'm here coach today.
Yeah.
I think that's always really, really key. Whether you're on the getting coached end or the coaching end, is knowing who you're working with and being very, careful who you interact with, because your energy is affected.
Right. I learned that the hard way too, when you first start out and you're just taking clients because you need the revenue.
Everybody.
Yeah, we all do it. We're all guilty of it, and I realized that, because I was doing that, I was in a scarcity mindset, and my, the clients were having a hard time paying me. And, it is so true where the relationship between coach and client goes both ways. You know what I mean? Because you might coach a certain way and your client might need you to hold their hand, and you're just not that coach for them. And that's okay. There's so many coaches, you can probably bring them to somebody else that is able to be that sort of support. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, 100% that you do. Discovery calls are important as hell. Yeah.
It was, and I love that you brought that up, because I see, some coaches who are like, the first time I get on the call is after we've signed the freaking contract. And I'm like, I won't do that for myself,
right?
As much as for my client. It's just not, I don't think that's fair for either of us.
Right. Yeah, I know. There's the whole discovery call thing in the coaching world is it's is it white or black? You know, some don't do discovery calls. For me personally, for my own energy, I do a 30-minute discovery call. We need to see if it's a good fit. I don't want you to make this investment in me and then hate what you get, you know? And I don't want to invest this time within you and it just not energetically work out. So, yeah.
I think sometimes too, you know, if somebody's on the fence, because let's face it, working with a coach tends to be an investment, is to show them the, you know, I mean, mostly it's a meet and greet, but I love to, you know, work with somebody a little, give them some nuggets to work with, so they understand the value of working with a coach right off the bat, so that it's like, oh, like I learned something for free. Right. Oh, wow. Like if I pay, well, imagine what I'm going to learn. And I think that's part of it too. And it's, you know, whether you want to call it your funnel system or whatever, I mean, that's why it's so important to give people free value up front, whether it's through your posts or whether you give away a freebie or whatever it is, so that people know that, like, there's, you know, if that's the freebie and that's just the nugget, like, you know, there's more there and there's a lot more to discover. And I know, like, for me, that's really important, is to know, like, what kind of advice does somebody have? Because you can be the best teacher in the world, but are you the best teacher in the world for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is all, like, I feel like, again, this is all like trial and error. Like, like, I don't think we're either sitting here being like, we're experts in this. No, I think this is coming from two entrepreneurs who've been there, done that. And these are our words of wisdom. Just so you guys, you know, whoever's listening, who's on the fence about hiring a coach or wanting to hire a coach or whatever, these are the things that helped us because we're human. You know, this is not us trying to tell you anything other than what we have learned as human beings, as entrepreneurs, you know?
Big time. Yeah. I think that experience is so big. And sometimes we still have to beat our head against the wall. You know, I'm that kind of person who is like, I know it's not going to work, but I want to try it anyway. And I mean, I do this in a lot of areas, but once I failed, I can learn from it. And my husband can attest to this, because we were trying this new, like, drip art painting thing, which was really interesting. And it's where you, like, mix these different paints and you pour it and you watch it make this pattern. And it's really cool. And I wanted to do an extra one because we had extra paint. And then I don't know why, but I was like, I want to finger paint that afterwards. He's like, you're going to ruin it. But I'm like, but I really want to see what happens. And he's like, it's not a good idea. I'm going to do it anyway. And I did. And I ruined it. And it was awful. And it just turned into this, like, brown blobby. I threw it out. It was awful. But I needed to do it. I needed to do it. And sometimes that's part of the growing process. I think once we hit a certain amount of failing, we can, you know, trust a little bit more. And there's a lot of, you know, following our intuition. Everybody's different. Some people are like, I trust you completely, you know, just show me the way. And then we're all so different in our way of learning and being comfortable with that too. And then also, like, just the types of learning, whether we're, you know, visual or audible, or whether we need to get in there and do it. I mean, I'm a kinesthetic human being. I need to feel it. I need to tangibly get in there. And once I have that, then I'm good. But I think that's another important part of picking a coach or picking a program or anything like that we take is it designed for me, or is that designed for a different kind of learner? Right. Also different.
Right. That's another thing, is like doing those stupid personality tests. And you need to. I'm sorry, go take the Myers-Briggs test. Isn't it free?
Oh yeah. Most of these are free. Like, and, you know, I really love astrology, probably because I grew up with my mom being like into it. And I know most people are like, I'm not at all like my sign. Well, you need your full chart, because that's in depth. And you can actually, I think it's astro.com. It will give you your full chart. Like your full chart. It locks certain parts where it gives you this big explanation, but you can read page upon page upon page about what it means for free. So you may as well investigate it. And once you see all of the interconnectedness, it's like, oh, okay. Like, I am my sign. Like, this isn't just crap. Because it seems like it would be the newspaper, like one paragraph.
I know. Yeah, that's only one of your signs. There's three. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, just go look at your birth chart.
Yeah,
and numerology too.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about like the woo, but it's like if you really want to get to know yourself, do both. Do the Myers-Briggs test, go to numerologist.com. It's free. And you're going to learn a lot about yourself.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
And, it is. It's one of those things where most people are like, that's how is that going to help my business? And I get that because I was there too. I was like, I wanted the plan. I wanted the to-do list. And I was great at the to-do list, but energetically I wasn't in alignment with it. So it didn't matter how good I was at it or how long I plodded away at it. I was going to keep struggling until I worked on that inner stuff. And it's so true. And once we start to recognize those patterns, a lot of the struggle goes away. Like, for example, right now, I was talking earlier with a beautiful woman who runs one of those monthly box subscriptions. And we were talking about how the Jupiter retrograde has been really interesting and how that's affected us energetically, and how, like, for me, I've felt it's been like this, where I've been like, yes, yeah. And kind of like up and down and up and down. And because I know it's happening, instead of me going, why am I having such a down day? I'm like, okay, I'm having a down day. So I've got a couple of options. Yeah. I can do some of the busier work that's not as productive because it's not energetically as big and important. Or I can take the freaking day off if I really feel I need it. And being aware of that, instead of going like, oh, I suck, like I'm just such a terrible person, or I'm a bad entrepreneur, because that's what happens when we don't understand what's going on energetically, is we start blaming ourselves or blaming our mentor or blaming the world economy, which, my God, everybody stop blaming the economy. We all have our own individual economy, and it doesn't matter what's happening out there. And I'm telling you guys, like, I listen to a lot of financial stuff because that was my biggest roadblock. So I'm like, finances are my thing. And when things are down, if we hit another recession, it's going to go back up. And that's the time to buy stuff. That's the time to get in there, because everything's on sale, but it won't be forever. And this is it's changing your mindset. It's getting in there and changing the way we think, because the mass majority of people follow the trend. You got to be the person who walks the path less trodden.
Yes, absolutely. And it's I love how you brought up the moon phases, because it's so true, because my foresight, I'm Aquarius sun. Yeah.
Me too.
Really? Well, there you go. We're changing the world.
Yes.
One weirdo at a time, but still. And I'm Libra moon, and then I'm Leo ascension. So and I swear to you, this is not, like I said, I am really logical, but I'm also woo. So I try to bring everything together. We just passed Libra moon, I think last month.
Yeah. I
can't tell you how affected I was by it.
It was intense.
It was intense.
It was intense. Yeah. And it's so interesting the way that we pull things together and how that all affects us. I'm Virgo moon.
Okay.
Capricorn rising. So I've got a lot of earth to ground all of my Aquarius.
You have a lot of earth. Yeah. See, I have no earth. I have no earth.
And my mom doesn't have any earth either. So she's really, for her, she's great at the thought process. She's great at the heady stuff. She's Sagittarius. So she's like great at all that, and the creativity, but she doesn't have any way to ground it. So
neither do I.
Creating is hard in the physical world. And I think having that tie is one thing that's helped me with structure. Virgo, of course, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which isn't always great, I can tell you that much. But another story.
Yeah.
It's knowing how you work and operate is really important, to know your strengths and your weaknesses, because we all have the weakness. I mean, I can tell you with the Virgo moon, I get into rigid, structured habits, which is really hard to break, to the point where, like, I'll just go and forget to take breaks, because that's the energy behind it. And so I'm aware of that. And so I make a point to go, well, I've been going nuts for days and or weeks sometimes, and you stop. And it is being aware of these things, because we burn ourselves out very quickly.
Yeah. My mom, my brother, and my sister are all Virgos.
So you know.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. And my dad's a Leo and I'm an Aquarius. So we had a very strange household. Oh God. That's a story for a different day.
That's really fascinating. Especially with your dad being Leo, since that's the exact polar opposite of the on the chart from Aquarius. So that can be good and bad.
Yeah. It was interesting. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. But oh my God, a minute. Okay. So if there is anybody listening that's struggling to get in the right mindset, whether it be to, I don't know, even start a business, grow a business, get their business to the next level, get themselves to the next level, what are 3 words of wisdom? It doesn't have to be just words, just like 3 tips that you would like to give this person who's listening.
Well, my go-to quote is master your mindset and you master your life. Write it down, take it with you, blow it up and put it on your freaking wall, because that's number 1 is work on that mindset growth. And if you're broke as a joke, like I was when I started, books, my God, get books, because we can all go to the library, you can order them cheap. Like, it's something we can all get our hands on a book. I think that's really key. The other thing is surround yourself with people who are doing what you want to do. Which is something I resisted like the plague for the longest time. I didn't want to add entrepreneurs, because I was like, they're going to sell to me, I'm going to sell to them, nobody's going to buy, and it's going to be a big headache and annoying. That's how I saw it. And I didn't realize that it could be this beautiful, cool, supportive environment and all the growth that could happen and why it's so important to have people around you. But we really are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And I did not like that, because, well, guess what? Both my closest friends were like not even working. They were on government assistance. So I was like, no. And it doesn't mean you have to break up with your, super broke or unambitious friends and family. It just means you probably want to consider spending a little less time with them and investing more time with other people who are really motivating and uplifting. And I really feel empowered when I look into success stories. Like, I love looking up, like Oprah's story or Jim Carrey's story or Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos. Like, we look at these people who are like mega successful. Like, wow, they're just special, or they got lucky, or we're so good at making up the excuses why they're there and we're not. But they didn't have any of these guarantees that they'd get there. They took big risks and big leaps to get where they are. And most of them went, pretty much rags to riches. I know people love to say, oh, people are born rich and then they stay rich. That's crap most of the time too. A lot of people born rich get really broke because they just take things for granted. Not to say that's everybody, but that happens a lot of the time. So it's putting things in perspective and realizing, like, for me, I put myself in their shoes before they got to where they were, and to think through the stuff they had to work through, the absolute fears they had to go through. Like, for example, Jeff Bezos with Amazon, the Amazon creator, he had a really, really, really good job on Wall Street where I'm pretty sure he was making over 6 figures a year in that job. And he had the idea for having a big online bookstore. And his boss was like, that's a great idea for somebody who doesn't already have a great job. What if he'd listened to that? He wouldn't be the richest man alive today, but he is, because he pushed through the fear and he let go of this secure job and he went for it. And I think that's such an important takeaway, is to know, like, you can have more. And this idea of security is really fear holding us back. It's crap at the end of the day. It's just a story we tell ourselves because we're too scared to go for it. It is really hard to leave a seemingly secure job, but you know what? Nowadays, there is no such thing. Companies crumble all the time. They downsize, the manager changes and they don't like you. That happened to a friend of mine last year. She was really, really good at her job. The management changed and her manager was like, I don't like you. And they got rid of her. They didn't say that, but that is what happened.
Right.
And so I think it's really important to go, like, even if you love whatever your job is, like, let's say, you're a nurse or something, you're like, I love helping people in that job. You should still be having like passive income streams, residual income streams. You should still have some kind of side business. Also for tax benefits, there's so many different aspects to that. But before I get off track, the 3 takeaways, let's recap, because that was a bit of a jumble, is put the saying down, write it down, master your mindset and you master your life. Number 2 is, feed your mind with lots of stories, get yourself in getting those books so that you can have that mindset. I guess I gave 4 tips. Surround yourself with successful people, and then look into success stories of people who you really admire and think are pretty amazing. Yeah. And that's something that really feeds the mind.
Yeah. How about some book recommendations?
Yes, because that's my thing.
Yeah. How about 3 book recommendations that have really helped you?
Yeah. For me, my all-time favorite book is Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. I adore T. Harv Eker, who's the author. He is just he's wonderful to read, but it's also the most straightforward tips that deal with both the mindset and the practical application all in one. And I think it's absolutely brilliant. I read that book a minimum of twice a year, but usually more, because I want to breathe those words. I want to live those words. So that one's huge. I really, really enjoyed How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And I really resisted reading that book for a long time because I hated the title. Mm-hmm. Because it felt more like he was saying how to manipulate people. But that's not what the book is about. It's just every time I looked at it, I'm like, it's how to manipulate people. That's not what the book is about at all. It's actually, I feel like that book should be retitled How to Be a Decent Human Being, because that's the takeaways. Because throughout the whole book, it's basically like just how to be a nicer person and how to be aware of the fact that we all want to feel important. I think sometimes, and I know this was true for me, we feel special, right? Mm-hmm. I'm special, right? and everybody feels that way. And I don't think I always grasped that, because I was always very ambitious, but then I didn't see other people being ambitious. And so I was like, oh, I guess I must be different. But I think they just didn't have it at the surface like I did. Or maybe I didn't have it at the surface either, but it's in my head, right? So whatever the case may be. But everybody wants to feel special. Everybody wants to feel heard. Everybody has a dream. And knowing that is so important, so that we can communicate better with people, and that we can be more aware of how people feel, and how we can be less argumentative and more supportive and come to agreements. And anyway, that book is just amazing for that. Just how to be a decent human being. And on top of that, yes, it's to be a good human being. I think that's the biggest takeaway. But it also showed how changing your strategy created big results. And like, I know there was many examples, but some salespeople who were trying to sell like for years to a big company, and they couldn't get the time of day. And they finally changed their strategy after going to one of Dale's courses, and, went in and didn't mention what they were trying to sell at all, and just spoke to something that mattered to that human being. Mm-hmm. And while they only had like a 10-minute meeting scheduled, 3 hours later, they're still talking. They haven't mentioned business once. And then that human being is like, here's a $100,000 contract. And we're talking, back in the 30s. So, 1930s, that's a big number. So that is the power of just being a good human being and caring about somebody else, and that kind of awareness. So that book is amazing for that. I also really, really enjoyed You Are a Badass at Making Money. Jen Sincero's just amazing in general. I like fun books. I don't like books that feel like going back to school. I really like a book that's engaging from that point of view. So I really liked hers because it's fun. And I mean, you end up laughing out loud at certain parts because they're just funny. And that's something that I really enjoyed. Definitely those are the 3 books I'm like, love them.
Yeah. Have you ever read Outwitting the Devil?
No. I'm going to write that down.
Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, I've read his like Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
Who hasn't? But
this one, it will give you a different perspective. It's not like, you just have to read it.
Yeah.
Because there's some woo in there, but I do suggest doing Audible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I love listening while I work on the stuff that doesn't require my full attention, like website design or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you'll definitely, that was like my big, like, whoa, like, what did I just listen to? It's really, it's amazing. So you'll like that. Yeah.
That's really good. I should give this because I do like, for anybody who is more of an audio listener, True Wealth by T. Harv Eker was incredible. And it's not even an audio book. It was taken from one of his courses, where they took the audio of him teaching. And, getting into one of his courses is thousands and thousands of dollars. So, for the $24 Audible, like, get it. And the takeaways are brilliant, all the way from the mindset development, being happier human being, and also the money aspect of it is just brilliant. And he's my favorite person to listen to. I find it very hard to listen to certain other audiobooks after him because he's just passion. He is passion ready to go.
Yeah. Oh my God. Now I have a list of books. Oh my gosh. Yes. Girl, thank you so much for coming on. I am going to leave. Guys, if you are interested, please, I'm going to have all of, God, why am I having a brain fire with your name?
Amanda Rose.
Amanda Rose. I am so sorry. I'm like thinking of all the things that I have to buy on Amazon now. So guys, I'm going to have all of Amanda's information down in the show notes for you. Amanda, thank you so much for coming on. I love that you were so okay with going from woo to like, logical money stuff. I will see you guys next week. And thanks again.
Thank you. Bye, guys.